The Enigma of Kim Jong-il, a glimpse behind the curtain. Kim Jong-il, the second supreme leader of North Korea, ruled his nation with an iron fist for over 17 years. Born on February 16, 1941, he inherited a country already steeped in secrecy and isolation. From his birth, shrouded in myth and propaganda, to his death in 2011, Kim Jong-il cultivated an aura of mystery around himself and his family. His personal life remained a tightly guarded secret, hidden from the prying eyes of both the international community and his own people. This essay aims to shed light on the man behind the curtain, exploring the contradictions between his carefully constructed public image and the reality of his private life. We will delve into the depths of his opulent lifestyle, a stark contrast to the poverty and hardship endured by ordinary North Koreans. Furthermore, we will examine the human cost of his regime, marked by widespread human rights abuses and a devastating famine that claimed the lives of millions. To fully comprehend the complexities of Kim Jong-il's reign, it is essential to understand the historical context in which he rose to power. Following the Korean War from 1950 to 1953, his father, Kim Il-sung, established a totalitarian state built on a foundation of communist ideology and a pervasive cult of personality. This legacy of isolation and control would profoundly shape Kim Jong-il's worldview and dictate the course of his leadership. Through the lens of historical analysis and first-hand accounts from defectors who dared to escape the regime's clutches, we will attempt to unravel the enigma of Kim Jong-il. By piecing together fragments of information, we can gain a deeper understanding of the man who held the fate of millions in his hands, leaving a stain on the Korean peninsula and the world stage. A life of contradictions. Public persona versus private indulgences. Kim Jong-il's public image was meticulously crafted to project an aura of strength, wisdom, and unwavering devotion to his people. State propaganda portrayed him as an infallible leader, a benevolent father figure who guided his nation with unwavering certainty. His every move was choreographed for maximum impact, designed to reinforce the narrative of absolute control and unwavering popular support. However, behind this facade of socialist virtue lay a world of extravagance and indulgence. While ordinary North Koreans struggled to survive amidst widespread famine and economic hardship, Kim Jong-il spared no expense to satisfy his own lavish tastes. His love of luxury goods, including imported delicacies, designer clothing, and high-end electronics, was an open secret among the elite circles in Pyongyang. One of the most striking examples of this double life was his penchant for Hennessy Paradis cognac. According to official records, Kim Jong-il was the world's largest individual consumer of the expensive French liquor, reportedly spending hundreds of thousands of dollars annually to satisfy his thirst. This extravagant spending on personal indulgences stood in stark contrast to the dire economic situation faced by the majority of North Koreans, many of whom were struggling to feed themselves and their families. The dissonance between Kim Jong-il's public persona and his private life reveals a calculated strategy to maintain power. By cultivating an image of austerity and selflessness while indulging in excess behind closed doors, he aimed to deflect criticism and maintain the illusion of a unified socialist paradise. This carefully constructed facade, however, could not conceal the harsh realities of life under his rule. The price of silence, human rights abuses, and the cult of personality. To enforce his absolute rule, Kim Jong-il relied on a pervasive cult of personality that permeated every aspect of North Korean society. From a young age, children were indoctrinated with state propaganda, taught to revere dear leader as an almost divine being. His portraits adorned every public space, his words were treated as gospel, and any hint of dissent was met with swift and brutal punishment. This climate of fear and repression enabled Kim Jong-il to commit widespread human rights abuses with impunity. His regime was responsible for systematic torture, arbitrary imprisonment, and extrajudicial killings. An estimated 80,000 to 120,000 political prisoners languished in brutal labor camps, subject to inhumane conditions, forced labor, and often death. The regime's control extended even to people's thoughts, with any criticism of the government or the Kim family considered treasonous and punishable by imprisonment or worse. The regime's grip on information was absolute, with state-controlled media serving as the sole source of news and entertainment. Access to foreign broadcasts, the internet, and even foreign publications was strictly prohibited, effectively sealing off North Korea from the outside world. This information vacuum allowed the regime to perpetuate its own version of reality, one in which Kim Jong-il was a benevolent leader and North Korea a socialist paradise, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. The cult of personality surrounding Kim Jong-il was not merely a tool for self-aggrandizement, it was the very foundation upon which his power rested. By silencing dissent and fostering an atmosphere of unquestioning obedience, he ensured the survival of his regime and his family's continued grip on power, regardless of the human cost. A legacy of isolation and suffering, the human cost of dictatorship. The true legacy of Kim Jong-il's reign is etched in the suffering of the North Korean people. His policies, driven by paranoia and a relentless pursuit of military might, came at the expense of his citizens' well-being. The most tragic example of this was the devastating famine of the 1990s, a man-made catastrophe that claimed the lives of an estimated 2 to 3 million people. This famine, while exacerbated by natural disasters, was largely the result of government mismanagement and a rigid adherence to a failed economic system. Despite widespread starvation, the regime continued to prioritize military spending and maintain its lavish lifestyle, even as its people starved. International aid, while offered, was often rejected or hampered by the government's insistence on controlling its distribution, ensuring its use as a tool of political control rather than humanitarian relief. The legacy of this famine continues to haunt North Korea today, with chronic malnutrition and food insecurity plaguing the population. The country remains heavily reliant on foreign aid, its economy crippled by decades of isolation and sanctions imposed in response to its nuclear weapons program. The pursuit of these weapons, while presented as a matter of national security, has served to further isolate North Korea from the international community and perpetuate a cycle of mistrust and hostility. Kim Jong-il's death in 2011 brought little change to the lives of ordinary North Koreans. His son, Kim Jong-un, inherited his father's iron grip on power, perpetuating the cycle of repression, isolation, and economic hardship. The stories of defectors who risked their lives to escape the only home they had ever known paint a harrowing picture of life under the Kim dynasty, a life devoid of basic freedoms, where fear and obedience are the norm, and any dream of a better future is ruthlessly extinguished.